Good afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on May 7th, 2025, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Karen Lattin, and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Xfinity Channel 1072 and is being recorded on the on-demand archives available on the Times website. It is being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review are posted on the town's website. To all participants, whether attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you've been recognized by the chair. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. If you are online and you are not a commissioner, please keep your camera turned off, and unless you've been recognized, indicate that you wish to speak by using the raise hand feature. If you are attending by phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. So that we have a record of a quorum, I will now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Elise Gordon. Present. Janet Williams. Present. Cheryl Meservey is not here. Eric Hilbert.
Present.
Bob Delvecchio.
Present.
Paul Johnson.
Present.
And I'm here, so we have established we have a quorum. Is there anyone who would like to make any announcements, comments, or future agenda items for anything other than properties on the agenda today?
I would.
Go ahead, Janet.
As I was preparing for this hearing and going over this agenda, it struck me that the vast majority of the matters that we're hearing today date back several, if not many, many months. I mean, I'm looking at some that started in early January, some started in November. The reason for all of these that hang on so long is often and unfortunately due to the growing gap between zoning board being able to schedule their hearings. There is a requirement that we never really hew to, but I think it's time that we do, that we shouldn't start opening hearings and having testimony if a matter has not yet been filed with the zoning board, because it means that it's going to be at least 3 or 4 months, if not more, down the line by the time it comes back to us, by which point, I mean, I don't remember it, so I have to go back and watch the recording and review all the notes and reread all of the things. So I think in the interest of not wasting this commission's time, we're going to start insisting on adherence to that rule, that if you haven't filed with zoning, I'm going to make an immediate motion to continue the hearing and not start it. Just don't want to do it twice. It's a waste of everyone's time.
Thank you. And we did emphasize that at the last meeting as well.
Backing up the chair who said that, yes.
Paul, I think you have an announcement, don't you?
Oh, yes. I wanted to acknowledge, as you all know, Catherine Ricks is now taking Ted's position, so Greg promoted her over there. And I just wanted to publicly thank Catherine for the last 7 or 8 months that she's been with us and the great work that she's done for us. It's been a big help having a full staff. We'll start advertising, Greg said, soon for the new assistant. But, you know, I just wanted to say kudos and accolades to Catherine.
Yes, and I would like to second that because she has been a huge help to us since she's come on, and we have accomplished even more than we were accomplishing before that. And along that line, I'm sure some people have heard it's National Public Service Week. So I would like to thank Paul, Catherine, Crystal for all their work, but I also would like to thank all my commissioners because you guys do a huge amount of work and it's so necessary, and I very much appreciate it. And the next thing is a very good thing. It's my little, well, it's actually from Greg Berman and Paul, but it's sort of a gift to us. And if everybody's interested, we can put it on the agenda for next week. It has been suggested that we go to 2 meetings all summer. And so, and if you don't agree, I'd be shocked. But if you guys would like us to do that, I think we could. And I'm sort of thinking that maybe 2nd and 4th. Would make sense. But if you want that, we will put it on the agenda and we can have a motion next week and adopt that.
We'll give it some thought.
Yes, I figured.
Done yet?
So if anybody wants to share their thoughts with me at any time, fine. All right. So before we begin the agenda, and Paul, are you doing the reading this week?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, Paul, are there any announcements?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon,
continuances?
Commissioners. We have 3 continuance requests, 76 Marshview Road, 44 Marshview Road will be continued July 23rd, 2025. 44 Waterview Circle will be continued to May 14th, 2025. And 141 Abbascami will be continued to June 25th, 2025 for zoning applications that are pending.
Yeah, I figured that was why. Okay, at this point, Paul will, our conservation agent will lead us through the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First on the agenda is an order of conditions. The address is 36 Dune Drive. Applicant Richard, Puccio Jr., map 16A, parcel 10-6X6C6, DEP number SE10-3707. The project is raised the southerly portion of the dwelling, reconstruct a portion of the dwelling within the minor lateral expansion, raise the floor to meet the design flood elevation, remove the deck, and add a step. And I have the plan that I can bring up on the screen if Mark will do that for me.
Okay. Hi, Thad.
Good afternoon.
And I assume that you got it.
I did, and for the record, that Eldridge East Southeast. I just haven't been in so long. I wanted to come in and say hi.
Sorry.
Quite all right. So I'm happy with the order. Very good. I had one question regarding the coastal banks that were called out in it, as there are none in the immediate vicinity. There's some nearby, but that was pretty minor. There was one revision that occurred on the zoning side. It was the same footprint. We added the building height to the plan. 2 copies were submitted for the file. Otherwise, everything is the same, removing the little golf tee and
We'll need to update the dates of the plan.
Crystal already did.
Oh, she did in this? Oh, okay. No, it says, the last one
I did it yesterday afternoon.
on,
Should be all set.
Crystal, on ours, because I'm seeing 2/13/2025.
That's the
Yep.
one.
Oh,
That's right.
okay. Oh, that's it. Okay, I was thinking it
The
was more
previous
recent.
revision had been 11/21/24.
Right,
And this is one that has lingered. We were at zoning. They were not overly enamored with the design. We then went back to the drawing board, maintained the same footprint, and kept in touch with you folks or your staff and said that we'll come in if you'd like to review anything. And they said, no, just push it off until zoning is happy. They were
okay.
finally satisfied with the plan, granted the special permit, and now we're back to finish off this end.
Okay. Do any commissioners have any modifications they want to see to this order? Bob?
I got one, special condition number 3. It says all debris and similar materials on the property must be removed from the property. I was gonna just specifically mention the bluestone that's piled up on the property.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's anything else that we could call out that's specific, that's there, besides just calling it debris. But I know there's a big pile of bluestone.
We just added it, so we'll
Yeah.
call that
That's
out.
now been added. I don't
Yeah.
have down that there was, railroad ties, a tar.
Oh, that was the wall, right? Was there a pile?
I
Or
think
was
there
it-
were a couple of loose railroad ties out there.
Yeah.
and
Okay,
If you want to add anything, I would think railroad ties.
yeah.
More than the tarp. The tarp's easily removed.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Go ahead, Eric.
I don't usually disagree with Bob much, but I think a person's entitled to stacks you know, bluestone slabs on their side of their house, you know, it's their property. I mean, they're valuable. I mean, I can understand maybe the timbers, the old timbers, but, I mean, you know, I think it's
more, we don't want it in the resource area.
well, the whole property's in the resource
Yeah.
area.
True.
Well, whatever, thanks.
Well, I don't think we'd be able to require somebody to do that, perhaps, but if they're willing to do it, to move their order along, you know, they can put it in that little garage they're building.
And the applicant is
Pile it
more
up.
than willing. There was a larger patio at one point, and they just never finished removing those from the site. And
Get 'em out.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody? All right, I think we're ready for a motion.
Okey doke. I move that we close the hearing on 36 Dune Drive and approve the order of conditions as revised.
Second.
Okay. Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. So you're all set.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. You too. Okay, the next one, Paul.
The next one on the agenda is a continuance at 76 Marshview Road. The applicants Mary Hope and Robert and
You don't have your mic on, I don't think.
That makes a difference, doesn't it? 76 Marshview Road, Mary Hope and Robert N. Stein, map 8C, parcel S72, DEP number SE10 3721. Project is construction of an addition and deck within the footprint of an existing deck, all construction within the buffer zone to a coastal bank, and the applicants requested a continuance to July 23rd, 2025.
I move that we continue 76 Marshview Road to July 23rd, 2025.
Second.
Okay. Bob?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Okay, next one, Paul.
Next one is a submitted notice of intent, 44 Waterview Circle, Grace Stellanatis, I'm sorry about these names, map 3C, parcel 64E-J9, DEP number SE10 3705. Proposed construction of a deck and sunroom within the existing footprint of the deck at the rear of the house, and the applicants requested a continuance to May 14th, 2025 for zoning relief.
I move that we continue, oh, sorry.
Sorry. Paul, do your notes tell you whether it's scheduled for zoning on tomorrow, or?
I think
All right,
it's
that's
May
tomorrow.
8th, but don't hold me to that. I believe it's May 8th.
Okay.
I looked at the comments, and I think the hearing's May 8th.
May 8th on here.
It says May 8th there? Okay, this is one of the ones that, January,
Yep.
we opened this. All right. One more, that's the last one.
Good. I move that we continue 44 Waterview Circle to May 14th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. I'm trying to keep you guys all on your toes.
I'm always in the same place, though, because I'm in the middle.
I know.
So that's good.
I noticed. I thought about hitting you first and really mixing it up.
I'm ready now.
Okay, Paul, the next one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is 141 Abbascami Run, Amy and Anthony Tutrone, map 12E, parcel 23-A20, DEP number SE10 3718.
Doesn't.
Project is dock and stair reconstruction, and the applicants requested a continuance to June 25th, 2025 for zoning relief and a special permit.
Okay.
Thank you. You have a comment,
I
Janet?
do have a comment. Do we have any information, and Crystal, have you heard anything about whether there's any filing has been made with zoning?
According to ZBA from, what was that, Friday, I think, I don't know if Crystal has it in front of her, they have not filed.
So why would we continue it till June 25th? There's
agree.
there's no chance in the world that they'll be heard before then.
And that's what they asked for, and
We opened this in February, 3 months ago.
I did ask Crystal to contact the properties, the representatives for the properties that have not applied with ZBA to request that they get their applications in at least before next meeting. But still,
We're
that won't
continuing
help.
this, so we won't, yeah.
But hopefully then,
I think, Janet, your point is well taken. This one is already scheduled for June 25th.
Oh, it is scheduled.
Yeah.
Oh, but we're continuing it, but
Oh,
no,
excuse me. Yeah, we're continuing June 25th. We can't, I don't think we can really change that at this point.
no.
because that's what
But
they requested.
moving forward, yes. I mean,
All new ones
yes.
from now on.
Right, yeah, I wouldn't do it to this one,
Yeah.
but I would request that the communication be made to whoever the proponent is, I can't even remember, that they come on June 25th and
Okay.
explain to us what their situation is.
Okay.
Why
and-
they have not applied if they
know,
haven't.
They better have by then, or we're going
Yeah.
to.
Crystal and Sarah Clark, who's the permit coordinator on the other side, they communicate very well together and
They
you know,
do.
pass information back and forth. So in the future, we're going to have more information on whether they've applied and what date it is, if there is the hearing that's been set, so.
Okay.
But anyway, I read it. It's going to be continuance to June 25th. Need a vote.
Okay, then I move that we continue 141 Absegami Way to June 25th, 2025.
Second.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
And I say aye.
This is going to be a record.
Okay,
Next,
okay, Paul.
next on the agenda is 30 Pine Lane. Michael,
And
I
Tuya.
okay, thank you. Lynch, map 130, gotta get my glasses, 13J, parcel 6G12B, DEP number SC 103716. The project is proposed screen porch, sunroom and deck, addition within 50 feet of the buffer zone to a fragmented coastal bank and 100-foot buffer to a BVW. Invasive plant management is proposed, native plant restoration is proposed, lawn reduction, mitigation plantings, and a kayak rack.
And once again, I am recusing myself from this property.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, good afternoon. Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design here on behalf of Mike and Toya Lynch. I'm not sure if Mike is joining us, and I did just reach out
He
to
is.
him. Okay, great. And Attorney Norcross to check on the status of the ZBA filing. I know they have everything they need to make that filing. Just can't say for sure whether that has been made at this time, but,
Right now, it says that they have not.
okay, so we
Teresa,
have that.
Would you like me to put up the planting plan or the site plan?
I think the planting plan.
Okay.
So this is our third hearing on this particular project, and so I'd just like to review with you the changes that we've made based on our last hearing and the request to minimize the proposed structure as much as possible. So you may recall that we originally filed this in January of 2025 with a request for a proposed sunroom, a proposed expanded deck to the east of the house, and a proposed deck on the north side of the house over existing deck and lawn area. Since that time, we've made some changes to the plan, and we've changed and removed the proposed deck from the north side of the structure and are replacing that with patio, which, since the last hearing, we've reduced the size of that proposed patio, as well as reducing the size of the proposed lower deck, which is located on the east side of the house. You may recall that there is an existing deck in that area, as well as an existing concrete pad, which we're also proposing to remove. The rinse station, there was some confusion about that. It's actually being proposed on the patio on the north side of the house. There's a small square that indicates that on the northwest side of that patio is where the proposed rinse station is. It was previously proposed down along the north side of the garage. The resource areas on this site include a bordering vegetated wetland and the associated 50 and 100-foot buffer zones to that bordering vegetated wetland. And then, as we've discussed in previous hearings, we also have what we're calling a fragmented coastal bank, which meets the DEP definition of coastal bank in that it's greater than 4:1 in some areas of the bank, and it does act as a vertical buffer to floodwater. It is not a sediment source. So with that, on our updated mitigation planting plan, we've created two tables for you to show what we're proposing within the 50-foot buffer to the coastal bank, which is the NDZ to that fragmented coastal bank, and as well as the 50-foot buffer to the BVW, which are located in two very different areas. So when we originally came to you, we were proposing approximately 700 square feet of net change within the 50-foot buffer to the fragmented coastal bank. We've now reduced that to 621 square feet within that area. However, we have not changed the footprint of the mitigation. We are still proposing just over 18,000 square feet of restoration, removal of lawn, and removal of non-native grasses, and restoring all of that with native vegetation, as we've discussed through multiple hearings. In total, we are proposing to plant, 16, 17, 21 trees within this area, and then numerous native shrubs. I just want to go back quickly because we did provide an alternatives analysis along with our variance request, and this was done back in January, so I just want to review. As part of our variance request, because we are proposing an increase of structure within the 50-foot buffer zone, we provided an alternatives analysis in which we looked at rebuilding the existing decks. But we decided that due to the condition of the decks, they need to be torn down and completely rebuilt, so the same amount of area would be disturbed. We looked at proposing new structure outside of the NDZ, which is not feasible. And then we looked at, reducing the proposed structure, which we have done since we did the initial hearing. But I do want to just bring one piece of this. Because we are proposing where all of the new structure is proposed, it's replacing either existing structure or lawn. And then additionally, because the expanded structure allows the property owners to limit all recreation to the deck, sunroom, and screen porch, now the patio, sunroom, and screen porch, we're able to remove all existing lawn within the 50-foot buffer zone and restore all of those turf areas with native shrubs. As well as restoring a 5,386 square foot area on the coastal bank that had been managed by previous property owners as mown lawn and consists of native, non-native aggressive cool season grasses, and then the 10,304 square foot area of forest where the understory is almost entirely invaded by English ivy, oriental bittersweet, porcelain berry, privet shrub, honeysuckle, multiflora rose, black locust, Norway maple, etc. So by allowing for the expansion of the deck, the patio, and the sunroom in an area that's already structure, we are able to eliminate all of the lawn within the 50-foot buffer zone and restore the entire buffer zone right down to the edge of the bordering vegetated wetland with native vegetation. I think one of the requests that was made that I just want to point out, and I think several commissioners had brought this up, is they had asked to reduce, there are 2 proposed staircases on either side of the small deck. We did speak with the property owners about this. That design is very important to them, so they actually chose to reduce the size of the deck, but keep the 2 staircases to allow them access off either side. And reduce the size of the patio in order to keep those 2 staircases. But again, those staircases are located in an area that's currently lawn under an existing deck. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the changes that we've made to the plan and the proposed mitigation overall. Thank you.
Eric?
Yeah, as far as the no disturb and all that, I'm okay with that. I just didn't realize that you could use a soft solution for mitigation in the no disturb zone. So now I know, in certain circumstances. So the only other thing I have to think about is these replacement trees are really kind of conveniently used for screening. I mean, they're not really placed, in a natural way. That should be on the bank. It's kind of obvious to me, the way that they're placed. I just wish that they were, it would be put back together more sporadic, how nature would be. If you want to go ahead and, I would think if the applicant wants to go ahead and add screening, if they're allowed, to go ahead and add the screening on top of the mitigation planting for trees. That's the only weird thing I can see about this whole plan. I understand about the NDZ and it can be used. I go back in a different era. That's all, thank you.
So just to speak to that, the area that's shown in green on the plan, and I was looking for the pointer. I can't find it. Oh, thanks. No, that's okay. So the area, I think I can do this. Wait a minute, Paul, I'm not sure. Okay, there. This whole area is completely canopied with native trees, mainly oak and pitch pine. So we are trying to insert some trees back into here, generally at a smaller size, sort of as, kind of jump-starting natural succession a little bit, knowing that over time, there's going to be some trees that are going to decline and naturally fall in this area. But there's really not a lot of opportunity for us to put any more canopy trees back in here. This area is the area that had been previously managed as lawn by the former homeowners. And so this is all open. We are removing a large locust tree from this area here. So this does give us an opportunity. And yes, the cedar trees are providing some screening from Route 28, which is down over here. But it really gives us the opportunity to put in some larger sized trees where we really can't shoehorn in any trees over here because this canopy is so dense. And that's one of the reasons too why we are proposing and on a plan of record to have this sort of vista corridor management. And we do include that in our plan notes that the vista corridor that we're calling out here is approximately 35 feet wide, which would be established to provide filtered views from the deck and the screen porch, and that our vista pruning and management would begin with the removal of dead, diseased, obstructing weak branches, followed by lifting, so the removal of small lower branches, and pruning of healthy limbs and branches, no topping, and no more than 1/3 of the canopy should be managed from the trees. And so that's why we are specifically proposing this vista management corridor in here, because this is such a dense canopy.
Right, I got it. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If there's no room to properly, how many trees were taken out?
So we're taking out, let me see, we have a note in here, I believe. We are taking out, there's 6 pine trees, which are flagged in the field. We're going to be flush cut.
Well, how many trees total?
Let me see, I'm sorry, it's written out, 4 black
like
locusts,
12.
1 Norway
12.
maple, so that's 5, and 6, so 11 trees total. And so because of the mitigation requirement, for the 2-to-1 trees, we're, having to put back 20-something trees for the 11 that we're taking out.
Right.
So we are kind of doing our best to shoehorn these trees in where they're going to fit appropriately and be allowed to, and will likely survive.
Okay. I mean, I get it, but it's, I don't know, just using the mitigation as screening trees, and you got a cluster of 5 that are, on the side of the house heading way up. Maybe if you want to use those for screening, you go ahead and put them, and then if there's not enough room to put trees in your plan, maybe you can donate to the tree fund.
Yes, I mean, I think one of the things certainly for future agenda items that we'll be looking at is the mitigation requirement for the trees and at the 2-to-1 and 3-to-1, and particularly when we're removing invasive trees and trying to preserve native trees on site. And we're finding that's more and more difficult to do in ways that are really sustainable long-term. But I know that's not a discussion for today, but we did do our best in this particular case to put those in. I mean, regardless, I know this is outside of the purview, but we planted these trees all within the 100-foot buffer. We are going to be continuing cedar trees up outside the 100-foot buffer zone, but I know that's not part of the purview, so we didn't put it
Thank
on.
God we're not paying for them.
Well, understood, but they're going to be, yes, exactly. So,
Teresa, so you know, we are working on updating the regulations for tree and tree replacement and the ratios and all the math
yes,
there, so.
I mean, this is a
Yeah.
prime example right here.
yep.
Okay, I'm all right with it, if everybody else is all right with it.
Yeah, I may have missed it. What about those two cherry trees in the front of the house?
So the Kwanzaa cherries, again, we spoke with the property owners. They're very large, they're very old, they're completely shading the front of the house. And I know that they're just shown as stars here on the plan. It doesn't indicate the size of these trees. They're actually reaching up and over to the roof. They're causing issues with moss and mold on the front of the house. So they have proposed to remove those two cherry trees. And again, they're in the front yard, they're between the driveway and the house. They're within the 100-foot buffer to the fragmented coastal bank, but they're outside of the 50-foot buffer to the fragmented coastal bank, and they're totally outside of jurisdictional area to the BVW. So we are proposing to remove those trees.
And Paul, I drove by the other day, I've driven by a couple of times as leaves and flowers have been coming out. Those trees are totally in the way of the house.
They are, yeah.
I'm now comfortable with the removal of those. Anybody else? Bob?
Yeah, I got a question for Teresa. The path that runs from the house, the back of the house, all the way down. We talked about defining that a little bit more in the meadow area.
Yes. Yeah, we did try and tuck shrubs close around the path to sort of define that area. So we can certainly, make sure that the shrubs are planted directly around that area. We do want to have room to mow this meadow. We are going to be
Right.
removing the velvet grass with a sod cutter.
Yeah.
And trying to get that out of there, but we're going to have to manage it over the next, certainly in the next 3 growing seasons while it gets established. So we do want to have room to be able to mow around that. We're proposing meadowsweet and fragrant sumac in that area, and so we can certainly tuck that in tighter around the path in order to make sure that it's really well-defined. And then, Bob, I recall the other question that you had was the coloring on some of the shrubs. And
Oh, right.
unfortunately, that got lost in translation in my office, and I was trying to fix that right before this hearing, but I ran out of time. But I will have a plan that shows the shrubs the correct color, as, for some reason, the plant schedule is showing them as one color and the planting plan is another, so I apologize for that.
Okay, terrific, thank you.
I have a quick question. So I've got the updated mitigation and planting plan. Is there an updated site plan?
There is an updated site plan, yes.
Not in the Dropbox.
Okay, I will make sure that that gets sent over immediately.
Yeah, just the electronic one, so we.
Okay.
So it was-
Yeah, but I'm sure if Mike in my office is listening in, he's probably emailing it over to Crystal right now.
Yep.
Okay.
And in the coverage calculation, recognizing that it's de minimis, but is the kayak rack included in that? Because that is on the bank and in the NDZ to the DPW.
I am not 100% sure, so I will have to check on that. And if it is not, we will include it.
Yeah, since you have time.
I think it's going to be just a simple 2 posts with, enough for a kayak and paddleboard.
Right, minimal
Yes,
land.
minimal, yes.
Okay.
Anything else? Do we have any updated information on ZBA?
I did not hear
Did you
back.
reach out to?
I did,
Mr.
I just,
Norcross?
at the beginning discussion, I did reach out to Attorney Norcross and the homeowner and Michael Lynch to see if they had a date yet for ZBA, and I didn't hear back as of the time I was called up.
Yeah, it affects the continuation date.
He's shaking his head no, okay.
Okay. So we'll clearly need to continue this based on that.
We will
Probably need to go into July.
easily, I think, into
Into
July at
July.
this point, yes.
Would you be comfortable with the 25th?
Yes.
Okay. I cannot do the motion.
Oh. All right, I move that we continue 30 Pine Lane to July 25th,
Second.
I'm sorry, 23rd.
23rd.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Oh, you have to do it.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
I say aye.
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 And I abstain.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Paul, the next.
Next on the agenda is a notice of intent. The address is 20 L Street, Karen Los Coco, map 10F, parcel R9, DEP number SE 10, 30, I don't have the whole number, 37 blank blank. remove and replace pond access stairs is the project. And I shall bring that up. Site plan.
Okay, thank you. Aye.
Hi, good afternoon. Stephanie Sequin with Ryder and Wilcox, representing the Los Coco family, who are the owners of the home at 20 L Street. It's a 28,000 square foot lot located on White Pond. The existing building was constructed in 1990. It's located up near the road on the high part of the lot. There's a steep embankment that drops down to the area adjacent to the pond. Currently, there's a path in the back of the house that leads to a set of dug-in steps that provide access down the slope to a little sandy beach area that's down next to the pond. Those steps, first of all, they don't have any handrail at all. They've become, they've settled, they're uneven, and they're pretty treacherous to try and navigate. So the family would like to replace those dug-in steps with elevated timber steps. I've included sections and profile of the proposed steps. They will be constructed on posts, elevated above grade. They'll be constructed without solid risers and entirely within the footprint of the existing structure. So I originally had the proposed stairs at a 4-foot width. When I did the coverage calculations, I saw I was a little bit over, so I reduced that width to 42 inches and ended up with a wash as far as the existing and proposed coverage. I think that's about it. Hopefully, it's pretty straightforward, just a typical elevated stair design. The existing steps, the treads, and whatever, there is some pipe in the ground holding those steps in place will be removed, put into a dumpster or some other container to be removed from the site. I've specified that all work be done by hand, all the excavated material removed from the site upon completion of construction, and the disturbed areas revegetated with native, just seeded with a native grass mix. This does have to go to the Board of Appeals. It has not been filed yet. Bill Litchfield was away for some amount of time. He is back and is ready to file. He does not expect, he said he was estimating of August 14th ZBA hearing.
Wait a minute, didn't you just announce before the meeting that we weren't going to take any of these?
Well, going forward.
Yeah.
Oh, is this old?
No, this is new.
Oh, I think, Eric, from today, anything that's on the agenda, we kind of stuck with
After
that.
today?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, got it.
So Stephanie, I hear Paul or Catherine contacted you.
Yes.
Can you speak to that and whether things are permitted or not permitted? Because I hear the steps are not permitted, which changes everything. I also heard that the shower, the AC, and the rock wall are not permitted, which,
Maybe I can jump
yeah,
in.
I think
So-
between the two of you.
So when I looked at this and I conferred with Catherine as well, when I went out to the site, this is a pond, we're talking about an inland bank definition. Usually they're down here somewhere. If you have a observable break down here, and I think Stephanie went out and found one, then, to be consistent with other projects as well, this is a 1993 delineation that was probably carried over from the old plan. But if you look at the performance standards, if you look at the preamble to the regs, this bank delineation probably belongs down here somewhere. So then we'd end up with the stairs being in the 50, probably within the 100, and mitigation would be required. But
Yeah.
the stuff that's unpermitted would fall outside the 100-foot buffer. And I think if Stephanie can speak to her field observation, if you did find an observable breakdown there.
Sure. Yeah, and I think I was being ultra-conservative
Yes.
in calling the top of that slope, because that's how it was designated on the 1990 plan. Carried that forward and used that as the top of the bank. I did this morning go take a closer look. And there is right along the edge of the water line, a very small lip, if you will, that I think is a more appropriate top of inland bank. And so, yes, that would put the 100-foot buffer.
There's a pointer up there.
Okay. And what do I hit, the red button?
Yeah, just the top one.
Okay. So the 100-foot buffer is just coming through the edge of this existing deck. So it would include, I guess the rock wall is in question. The approved plan just had the deck coming around the corner like this. For some reason, and I know I have, the house was permitted in 1990 with an order of conditions. The certificate of compliance was issued in 1991. I have in my Ryder and Wilcox file a set of field notes from 1993 that, so shortly after the certificate of compliance, that does show this deck wrapping all the way around. I don't know why it was measured up in 1993 after the certificate of compliance was issued. I have to imagine that this retaining wall was there from the start. It's transitioning from finished first floor grade in this area, and then underneath the deck is the walkout basement. So, I mean, that's very common to have a retaining wall to make that transition. The air conditioning unit is, and the shower with this lower bank location are now outside of the 100-foot buffer.
Right.
I did talk with the Karen Lascoco, who's the daughter, and she said the shower has been there for roughly 28 years, and the air conditioner 10 or 15 years.
Right. And I do think, I mean, obviously, we're going to need a new plan.
Yes,
But still, steps weren't permitted,
not that I could find any,
and not that the Conservation Department found either. So you're going to have mitigation.
okay,
You're going to have to do a new coverage table, because this is not considered a replacement. It's considered, you're applying to put one in.
Okay.
A new one. So just that, I'll just end on that and then let everybody else ask questions. I just wanted to get that out there, that I think obviously we have to hear it again, but that it seems we're going to be hearing something a little different, maybe same plan for path and steps, but there will be mitigation and everything.
When you do that, Stephanie, could you do me a favor and just make sure, help explain where that top of the inland bank, how it's determined? Because I know there's some confusion, and I know that the zoning board uses a different definition, so I don't know how you parse that, but
okay.
you need to satisfy both boards when you make that. The other thing is that now that mitigation is required, this suddenly becomes relevant. When you pull those steps out, you're going to destabilize that bank. So I would like to see what the stabilization measures are going to be, how you're going to keep it stable, what you're going to plant under the elevated stairway. It's going to need to be shade tolerant. And it should be specified. And I'm trying to understand the elevation above grade. We follow the guidelines that the state has issued, that I think it's a DMF issued about width versus height, in order to maximize the light under the stairs, to maximize the chances of survival. So it looks like it's very close to grade in some places. So I would ask you to, when you're doing your redesign, think about elevating it a bit more and making sure that you've got enough light and room for the plants beneath.
Okay,
You've got a north-south orientation. I think that's probably ideal, because it'll get light on east and west side under there, so that helps. But just in terms of stabilizing that bank, making sure you select the right plants to go under there that will survive and that will hold that bank.
Okay.
It's very steep.
It is.
And I can attest to what you were saying about how treacherous they were.
Yeah.
I was holding my life in my hands going down there. So, it was bad.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hi, Stephanie, how are you?
Hi, good. Oh, I'm sorry. It's been a while.
Yeah, the pathway above the stairs is quite eroded. Is there any way you can put at-grade steps there, or continue the stairway with a ramp of some kind or something? At the very least, gravel, I think, would be in order.
Okay, so stabilize that eroding path.
Yeah, you can see underneath the current stairway, there's a lot of soil
washed out,
underneath
yep.
that's been washed from that.
Okay, yep.
And I don't want to open up a can of worms, but below the current stairway, along the edge of the pond, it looks like that was all, the vegetation was removed at some point to create that beach, a so-called beach. And I was even thinking of creating a vegetated buffer strip of some kind, just to protect that area, protect the pond, I should say, along the edge of the pond, to create some vegetation there. I know they're using it as a beach, and I see the raft, and I see boats, and I see chairs, and I see wood piles, and I see everything down there, which is in the NDZ.
So you're looking for, like, shrubs along the edge?
I would like to see some kind of shrubbery at the edge of the pond to protect the water in the pond.
Okay,
But there's a lot of everything down there, and it shouldn't be in there. It shouldn't be at the, in the NDZ. Chairs and wood piles and it's really a no-no as far as I'm concerned. So I'd like to see a lot of that removed.
a lot of the items?
Items, yes.
Okay.
We can add into the order, I mean, it's commonly done, we require equipment to be removed from the resource area at the end of the season and stored in an upland location.
Okay.
Not on the bank of the pond.
Now, I know when I was there this morning, there were more items than I saw last fall. So I think they are coming back for the season.
Oh, yeah. I don't blame them.
When you talk about, wildlife movement and so forth, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's definitely a no-no. I mean, it's just, a lot of the times it's all about people and not about anything else. So I'd like to see a lot of that removed, especially, the chairs and so forth could be, repositioned each off-season up on the lawn, but like the wood pile, I don't see any reason why. I suppose they had fires there at one time. Yeah. But just to clean up that area would be a,
Okay.
Anybody else? Eric?
Yeah, I'll be on the flip on this. I go to a property and I look everything over, and this property reminds me of properties when I was growing up. I mean, it's a Cape Cod lawn, there's no irrigation. Imagine you would take the steps out, put some fill, grade it, put your erosion fabric down. I think whether the steps were there or not, I mean, to me, the past is dead. I think these elevated stairways are gonna be a big improvement. You're gonna have less erosion on the banking. Maybe at the top of the stairs, you can put a couple of, steps, just place them naturally into the bank for the rest of the way. As far as mitigation, I can tell that this is the type of property that, water, they probably mow the lawn 3 times a year. This is an ideal situation as far as what we encourage, So I look at all these things when I could say maybe put it in the order, they shouldn't be throwing Leland cypress branches and brush over the bank. They should refrain from that because you get the Japanese knotweed loves that stuff, and once that gets stabilized in there, it's gonna be hard to get rid of. Just, make a pile once a year, take the pile away, if they have cuttings. Shouldn't throw it over the bank. But, I don't have a lot of issues with this project so far. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, obviously, we have to continue.
Yes.
And obviously, we don't know when you are heard by ZBA. But I can tell you it's not soon.
Well, and I need to come back to you.
Right,
for
but
then.
We can't write the order until ZBA approves, but if ZBA changed things, then you have to come to us again anyway, you see, because it would be a different plan. So having to come before us first is not necessarily true. It usually happens because we hear properties faster than ZBA does. But having said all of that, what are you thinking, what month would you like to continue to? And I'll tell you what we have.
Well, unless I'm misunderstanding something, I expect that you want to see some changes, some
Oh, yes,
additional information.
Definitely.
Before this goes to ZBA.
The changes need to be made that we're asking for, but you could make them and go to ZBA first. It doesn't matter.
Okay. I would just as soon try and get it ironed out with.
Fine.
With the commission here.
But you need to apply to ZBA.
Yes, yes. Could we continue this to, say, your second meeting in June?
That would be June 25th.
Okay. Does that work?
Sure.
You're the last applicant on the old system, as far as the ZBA is concerned.
Yeah.
I timed that right.
Can I add one
Good.
thing? Whenever you see conservancy district boundaries on plans, you're gonna maybe have the building inspector not
We do 2 meetings.
permitting some things within that district.
That's why.
So there could be implications here, so you need to apply for ZBA as soon as you can.
Yes.
And get some feedback from the building commissioner about what's down below that conservancy district boundary. Okay,
Okay.
good advice.
All right, if we could have a motion to continue to June 25th.
I move that we continue 20 L Street to June 25th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
We'll see you June 25th. Okay, Paul, next on agenda,
Next on the agenda,
minutes.
minutes to be approved April 23rd, 2025. Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay. This is so exciting. And thank you, Crystal. We will be considered up to date because that's our last meeting. So she is right on top of them now. Does anybody, I see Janet that you updated already. Does anybody else have any changes to the minutes as they were? Okay, no? All right, then I think I'll accept later the changes. If we could have a motion, please.
For the minutes?
Yeah.
I move that we approve the minutes submitted from April 23rd, 2025.
Second.
Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
And I say aye. All right, one more motion.
I move that we adjourn the hearing.
Second.
Okay, Elise,
Aye.
I'm gonna mess you up. Paul, I'm gonna
Aye.
do all over. Bob,
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
And I say aye. Just had to have some fun.